Halo is my favorite shooter series of all time, but at its current position, there's a lot of problem that the series is going through. Yep, that's right, I made that bold comment. Fight me. Many will say this is due to the fact that Bungie has been replaced by 343. But, however, that's simply not the case at all, because Halo Reach, despite me thinking that it's a great game, was very divisive in terms of the community output. And with Halo 4, despite being a low point in its franchise, I did think it was a good game. Now, why am I talking about this? Why should I really care about this? You know, I'm a boomer who just doesn't understand the modern days of gaming, right? By the way, just to be clear, I'm only 20 years old, so not a boomer. Well, that's because Halo was my childhood. And despite what many will say, it is not just a mindless shooter and all that stuff, you know. It's the only shooter game that I could think of that is able to balance the ideal of funness and also challenge together. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what do you play Dark Souls for? You play for the challenge. You play for the accomplishment, you know? You want to be challenged and you want to be able to say, I beat Dark Souls without dying once or getting hit once or whatever. Now, I don't know if this is a good example or not, but what do you play Mario Kart for? Well, you play to have fun. You bring your friends along and you have fun with it. Sure, there's a challenge element within the game because, again, it's a racing game, but the main purpose is to have fun. But Halo has always been the game to me that's been able to nail it at both these elements. There are hard as nail enemies like elites or brutes that make the game hard for you, and then there's the easy enemies like the grunts that also make the game fun for you. When it comes to the elites, they take a lot more shots to kill, forcing you to strategize and use your ammo wisely. And when it comes to the brutes, they may take a few shots on the head to kill, but they still require you to strategize to be able to make sure that you conserve your ammo. But the main thing is, they always put the control of the player in the player's hands. And that's the key thing here, control. That's how they're able to nail down the effects of people having fun and having a challenge for the players. We are approaching the day when we'll get to see a gameplay of Halo Infinite. Now, one of the most debated topic within the community or the Halo community is whether Halo should have sprint or not. So, let's strap in for a bumpy ride.
Give the Covenant back their bomb.
Because
we need a fight.
First, let's talk about the advantages that comes within sprint. Well, firstly, you could get away from your enemies that are shooting at you a lot faster, and also you could help yourself to, take cover a lot faster, forcing the enemy to be more cautious. And also, in case you're getting shot at, you could take cover faster too. This also gives a good advantage to anyone that plans to be like a recon or maybe like a person that prefers doing close-to-close combat over other things. Many Halo fans will understand that the battle rifle tends to be more accurate than that of an assault rifle, because when it comes to a battle rifle, they have a scope, and also it's a lot easier to use when an enemy is farther away, compared to an assault rifle where you can be accurate with it if you have enough practice, that is, but it won't be as easy and you will miss a lot of shots compared to that of a battle rifle. However, if you are in close combat, the assault rifle tends to help you a lot more because you could riddle your enemy with bullets and they'll die a lot faster compared to that of a battle rifle. Now, comparing that to a battle rifle, if your opponent tends to be a lot more closer to you, you do have a harder time shooting at them with the battle rifle. Now, with the added benefit of sprint, you could also get to your enemies a lot faster and escape them a lot faster as well. Now, let me make this thing very clear. I do not like sprint. So this would bring me to the disadvantages of when it comes to sprint. It's mainly an advantage for those that are being shot, not an advantage for those that are doing the shooting. And I don't think that's good because I believe that your accuracy should be rewarded. If you are accurate, that is. Halo has always had a balancing mechanic. If you were in a tank, you would be very destructive. You would be able to take down anything in your path. However, that does make you slow and also very big, so you can take hits from enemy rockets or other tanks, which will put you down. Ghost is not durable and it's not as destructive as the tank, but you get more mobility out of it, and also you get a lot more speed out of it. That's the fair trade-off that the Halo balancing system had. Sprint, it just doesn't create a good enough balancing system. I mean, sure, if you were in close-to-close combat, but again, you could do it with the standard mechanic as you have in Halo 2 or Halo 3. The biggest problem comes are with the maps, where some maps that used to be traditionally small and were remade into the newer maps are now a lot bigger because of the sprint functionality. For example, a map called Truth in Halo 5 Guardians, which was based off the map Midship from Halo 2, is a lot bigger than its predecessor. This again is because of the sprint mechanic that they had to scale up the feature of these maps. Now, say if there was a player that's like in a wide open map or something, and you're shooting at him with a battle rifle per se. If it was in the older Halo games where they didn't have sprint, he would not be rewarded for his carelessness, whereas for those that are more accurate would be rewarded. Now with sprint, he could get to a cover as fast as possible, and you would have a lot harder time shooting at him. So this time you're not rewarded for your accuracy. And again, there are ways for you to be mobile within Halo. Like say if you were about to smash someone in the head with melee, or you're about to cut someone up with like an energy sword. These are some weapons that add mobility to the game, but however, they have to have a fair balance to it, which is something that Sprint doesn't offer. Now some will say that it's impossible for a first-person shooter to be successful without Sprint. What about Doom Eternal? I mean, that was pretty successful, and it came out this year. Now I'm not saying go full Doom Eternal with Halo Infinite or anything, because like again that's gonna be kind of impossible, but I am saying that take that as an example of how you can make a good first person shooter without the need of sprint. Like make Master Chief walk faster and jump higher or something, you know, like don't put the control away from the player. Now that could be a way you could be more mobile with the game. Minus the booster boots that you get on Doom Eternal or whatever, you could probably make the player walk faster or move faster or something. This allows the player to be able to shoot while they're moving and also dodge projectiles. I'm sure many of us that played Halo Reach had fun using the jetpacks or whatever. Now, we can use that as a good concept as like a vehicle or something in the later Halo games. You'll be able to use it the same as you do with when it comes to Halo Reach or whatever, but the only difference is this time it will have a weak spot on it and it will only be equipped as a vehicle. Also, the explosive detonation will kill you if you don't get out fast enough when someone shoots a hole on that jetpack or something. These are some features of mobility that Halo can add, you know, like instead of taking from other games and adding a sprint. Also at the same time this would maintain balance. Also, as for thruster packs from Halo 5, we could use that as a concept of mobility by making it like a vehicle again. It can also be counted as a weapon where you can do ground pound or whatever, but that's all it should probably remain as. And one way we could probably balance that out is just like in Halo 5, if you're sprinting, your shields won't regenerate, or using any abilities from the thruster packs anyway. But these are the problem with sprint that I have, you know. There could be many other complaints from other people, and maybe they did a better job at it than me. But again, there are ways to fix that, and have more mobility in Halo, and still keep the good balance that Halo has. Do I think that 343 will add these features? No. You know, I am not that big of an influential YouTuber. I don't have that much subscriber. I mean, I'm only at the 20s here. And not only that, we are only a few weeks away from Halo Infinite to reveal its gameplay. It's kind of a little too late for me to talk about it. Also, right now, 343 has a lot of pressure on their backs. Some could say this is their last chance to try again. Halo 5 Guardians being the worst campaign in any Halo game, Halo 4 having a pretty lackluster multiplayer, and finally the Master Chief Collection having a disastrous release date. People also need to remember that the community is pretty divided on the idea of having sprint in a Halo game. Some say that they want it, while others say that they're not fine with it. But that's basically what it comes down to at this point. The community has pushed the developers in so many different directions that we don't know what we want anymore, and neither do the developers know what we want at all. That does bring me to a solution that we could probably come up with when it comes to Halo. Like, we could probably have a classic mode. Like, you know, people could choose whether they want a mode with sprint or not, and also have that within the multiplayer. But if Halo Infinite does release the game with sprint, would I mind? No, I wouldn't. You know, like, I'll still like it nonetheless. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to let go of Halo. I mean, it's a special part of my childhood. I would hope for it to be a great game nonetheless, but I don't know if it'll be the Halo game that I want. You know, like, it'll be the good, polished, balanced type of Halo game that I am hoping for. But maybe it'll be the Halo game that some people want, and it'll be the Halo game that makes many people happy. But that's up to them. Halo 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and my favorite shooter game of all time. Yep, that's right, I made that claim. Fight me. It gave me everything I wanted and more. And I'm super excited to be able to finish the fight in July 14th for my PC. I don't really think we'll ever get anything beyond that in terms of Halo, but we can get something close to that, somewhat less close to that at least. I know it is a simple mechanic, but in my opinion, I think sprint needs to be gone from Halo. And Halo 3 was the game that understood this perfectly, and that is what made Halo 3 the best Halo game in the franchise for me. So most likely, I'm expecting to see sprint in Halo Infinite. Again, I'll be fine with it, and I'll still like the game if it's successful. But again, it won't be the Halo game that I want. Anyway guys, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of sprint in Halo. Do you think it belongs in Halo? Do you think it doesn't? And tell me why you feel that way. This is Shadow Puppet dropping the mic.